lists are, we would also like you to tell us what your budget wish lists are. Let's see what are the issues that need to be tackled by the new government, and we know that early July there is a budget presentation by the new Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. So let's talk about what are the issues that are going to be discussed. Let's pick up the industry wish list first. One of the first things they are asking for is an industry.
First of all, the importance of this budget. This is a huge importance of this
Yes.
budget, particularly after this government got re-elected with such a huge
Thumping majority.
Industry and economy is in bad shape.
Yeah.
And everybody has some hope with the real estate that this government may use or can use real estate as a driver to this entire economy. And thinking that only, this government should come out with a clear-cut policy line that what should be done, what needs to be done so that the economy could be revived. Real estate is also in a bad shape, as
Yes.
we keep on talking about.
Actually, there is a real estate is, like Prabhakar said, an industry that has forward and backward linkages to so many other industries. At least 12 to 13 industries have direct linkages to it, which means that if you can get the real estate industry kick-started, there will also be a demand for finance. There will also be other industries that will come up, and jobs creation. It is the second largest jobs creator in the market today. So with all this, and it is an economic indicator in most advanced
And
economies.
the best part of it, there is a demand also.
There is a demand.
Demand
There is a unmet demand, a growing unmet demand that is there. It's just that where the demand is not, that is not where the supply is.
Exactly.
And therefore you have a lot of supply overhang, and you have a demand that is in another segment. Now, in the last 5 years, what the government of India has done is created the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It was a big driver. It brought prices, it rationalized prices. It also made sure that in a market where there was hardly any faith in the industry, and that was the
Yeah.
time when the government has used its Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the credit linked subsidy scheme, to bring demand back to the table. And we have seen in the last 2 years, Prabhakar, a lot of
Development has happened.
development has
Yeah.
happened because of RERA. You have to complete. You've also seen a lot of pickup by end users, right?
Yeah.
Of completed stock largely. There are markets like the NCR where the problem's magnitude is so great that you haven't seen so much of an impact. But there are select markets, select segments where the industry has been picking up. However, today the housing industry is saying, give us industry status, it will help us access low cost funds. Now, really funds
That
is a
didn't
big issue,
materialize.
right?
That didn't materialize
Yes.
basically. Last time, as you know,
Affordable housing was given
given
industry
the
status.
industrial status, but still no bank gave them the loan against
Yeah.
taking them as an industry sector. And
The
because
risk weightage is so high on this sector.
And RBI, it seems, has not synced with the RBI that real estate is really very important industry and it can really do good to the economy. And because of that, RBI has kept this risk weightage of real estate very high among the banks. So banks are very, very reluctant to give loan to the real estate sector. So right now, Jayashree, I believe that there is a two clear-cut segment. One segment is the old stalled projects. That is a very big laggard, or that is basically pulling back this entire industry, number one. Number two is the new demand and the new launches, the new activity.
Yes.
Now, people are saying that unless this old sin, that is the stalled projects, is not finished and is not, some solution has been found out of that, the new demand and the new projects launch will be very, very slow, and it will particularly in the NCR region and North India. And some part in the central India also, there is a huge problem of the stalled projects. So this budget at least should try to do something for the stalled projects also. Either they should announce some kind of a asset for this stress asset fund.
In fact, Prabhakar, yesterday at the Jantar Mantar, all the JP buyers, 22,000 JP buyers, actually congregated to say that give us a stress asset fund so that the business can go on. And there the issue is far more complex because
Yeah,
you
stress asset fund, government is not going to lose money in
Yes.
that. Basically, money can be recovered. Only thing is this, that somebody should regulate that money properly to, that money should go into the real estate sector.
So
instead
who
of
regulates?
construction.
What is
The-
your view?
RBI should give this money to the central pool, and from the central pool, RERA should be allowed to draw down from there. And now here, RERA just should not contain itself to be the regulator only, but also should be a facilitator and should
So
also.
that development part of RERA, that it's a real
Yeah.
estate regulation and development act. So if the regulation has happened big time now, can we also see the development part of it? So like Prabhakar says, can the stress asset fund be created so that where there is no money on the table, can this money be used to kickstart the project, get the receivables back, and then the excess land, the excess units can be sold to recover money, right?
Exactly.
And it goes back.
And for this, as we said earlier also, that government must come out with a clear-cut law that whatever money is raised or mobilized to construct or complete the project, no money should be, that money should not be used to give refund.
Either to give refund or to service the existing debt
Debt.
Or-
That money should not be used for.
or for salaries.
Exactly, or for salaries. That money should only be used for the construction of that project. And I believe that this kind of a ring fencing, Supreme Court can do, or the Parliament Act can do it. So either the government, central government should intervene into this fact, or otherwise what is happening that even if some buyers along with the developers or the private players, they come together, they create some fund to start construction. Meanwhile, one or two buyers go back to NCDRC or some
Yeah.
other court and they get the order for the refund, they come out and they sweep out that entire fund.
Sure.
One refund stops at least 20 flats construction.
Exactly.
So government has to consider, and government must address this problem in this budget if they want to resolve this stalled projects problem.
Right.
That
We
is
are
very
having
important.
some technical difficulties on our Facebook. Our Twitter account is working fine.
YouTube.
Our YouTube account is working fine. So please make sure that you are still logged in with us. We'll be fixing the problem very shortly. Prabhakar, let's
Yeah, talk about
should
the
we-
new projects
yeah,
now.
let's talk about new projects.
Yeah.
There are 2 or 3 issues that are there with new projects. Firstly, I don't think the market has an appetite for premium or middle income
Yeah, exactly.
projects,
Yeah.
and you can see that these have more or less dried up in the market.
Yeah.
The only way to make sure that there is more demand at the where the more demand is there at the bottom of the pyramid, that there should be more supply. Now, are you able to do that? Can we expect that to happen soon?
Now, look, first of all, what these developers are talking about, and if you go to the stakeholders in the market and if you talk to them, you will find that cost of construction or cost of producing that finished product, that is a finished apartment, is so high that developer or anybody cannot sell it at a price which is really affordable for the lower segment of the population.
Right.
Particularly say for, even if suppose 300 square feet apartments, if a developer wants to construct, the minimum price in NCR region will be somewhere around 4,000 rupees per square feet, and that comes out to be something around 12 lakh to 15 lakh of rupees or 20 lakh of rupees. Now the issue is this, that to address that issue, the main problem today is the cost of the land and the cost of the construction. Cost of the construction, cost of the land, of course, it's a market driven completely. Now the cost of land has gone down, but the cost of construction can be contained with the 2 things. One thing, with the faster approval, so that the gestation period is shortened, and
In fact, that is one big issue.
Big issue.
Because across the country, you are seeing that there have been problems with the approvals process. 18 to 24 months. Developer buys land, he has to hold on till and in the
All the
RERA
approvals
era,
gets it, yeah.
till the approvals come, he can't register, he can't start any work, he can't start sales at all. This has been a problem.
Huge issue, and
Yeah.
this increases the cost by at least 20 to 25%.
That's
So if that comes down, that period suppose comes down to 1 month, and it can be done. Now, suppose there is a master plan area, I don't think that environment clearance or the fire, this kind of a clearance is required, because when a master plan was prepared, that means it was considered for the construction of the residential houses, and the problem, environmental problem was already taken into account when the master plan was finalized for that particular area. So if a person is going to launch a residential project in that area for which that master plan was prepared, I don't think that such plan is required. Number two, like the water supply, electricity supply, sewer supply. Now this kind of infrastructure also government should mobilize their entire energy to create this infrastructure as fast as possible, so that if suppose in 1.5 year a project is completed, then at least the developer can give that flats to the buyers, so that interest cost can be controlled, so that the other costs should be controlled and it can be brought down. So by doing all this, developers are saying it that the cost can be brought down to 40 to 50%. So government must try to do this, must make system more efficient if they really want to address the problem of high cost of affordable housing.
Right.
And then it will become really affordable. And number two, the interest cost, particularly in a country like India, where inflation is 2 to 3 or 4%, the cost of interest or the cost of money is 10%. So real rate of interest rate is around 6% to 7%, which is very, very high. Normally it should be in the range of 2 to 3%.
Can it come down to 2 to? Do you expect it to come down to 2 to 3%?
It should come down, or if it will not come down, then there will be a huge problem. And
Do you see it happening in budget 2019?
they can do it. Two things: they can increase the money supply. For
Yeah.
that, they should increase the deposit, and they should try to bring in more and more foreign fund in the country, so that the money supply should increase. Now today what is happening, that whatever deposits are mobilized, that deposits are used by the government for its own purposes. So the money left for the market or the private player is very thin, very small amount. And because of that, there is a huge demand of the money, and there is no deposit. So banks increases the deposit rates, and as the bank increases the deposit rates, so the lending rates are also increased. So despite the fact that they're bringing down the repo rate and all that, that will not be effective unless they increase the money supply or they increase the stock of the money in the market. And for that, they'll have to make it more attractive market globally, so that FDI comes in, and because of the FDI, what will happen, that government will buy the dollar and rupee will be released in the market, and similarly some more mobilizations would happen through the deposits and all that. Unless that happens, with 6 to 7% real rate of interest, I don't think that anybody will really invest in the market, because today what is the real problem in the housing sector is this, that even if you are planning to buy a house, you don't know that after 6 months, 6 years or 7 years or 10 years even, it will justify that in that kind of investment, because of the high cost of money. The cost of money is 10%. So in 10 years, at least the price of that apartment should double.
Yeah.
Now, if that is not happening, then
And today that predictability is not there.
is not there. So that is why I'm saying that cost of money has to be reduced, has to come down, and particularly at this point of time, if that doesn't happen, nobody is going to invest in the market, and no investment takes place, that means the GDP growth or the economic growth cannot come.
Right. The other thing is that there is GST on real estate, and there's an abatement of land of 30%, right? They are asking for, the industry is asking for the abatement on land to be increased to 50%. There is I think NAREDCO has asked for abatement of land to be increased to 50% for affordable housing, and there are other industry agencies which have said, so that the effective rate, tax rate is 9%. But it's already come down to 5%.
Yeah,
hasn't
exactly.
it?
But 5% without ITC,
Without ITC.
input tax credit. Now,
We are recommending that input tax credit be brought
should
back.
be restored even with the 5% rate, because with this kind of a thing at 5% flat rate without ITC, what is happening, that apartments of 3,000 to 5,000 rupees a square feet today is paying higher tax, but the apartment of 30,000 rupees a square feet and 40,000 rupees a square feet, they are paying now the less
Lower
rate
this,
of the
yeah,
tax.
yes.
So that is bad. So I believe it's a regressive move by the government because of the, and it was a knee-jerk reaction of the government, because government had allowed the 12% with ITC. 12% GST with the, and 8% GST with the ITC.
Yeah.
But there was a huge demand, and the basically developers are not passing on that benefit
Yeah.
of ITC to the consumer. So the many consumers went to the profiteering council and all.
We can see that a lot of profiteering council statements are coming out against different developers.
Obviously, the developers have done that kind
Yes,
of a wrong,
yes.
and because of that, government said that okay, fine. The only solution of this is that to fix the rate of interest. So sorry, the fix the
GST.
GST rate, and that GST rate they fixed at 5% without ITC. So now, for on paper, it looks very good that from 12% to 5%, but earlier-
Actual calculation shows that
Yeah.
the consumers are not the beneficiaries.
Exactly, particularly in the
The
lower
lower
strata.
segment,
Lower
yes.
strata of the
Yes.
consumers are not benefited, though the upper strata are hugely benefited.
Yes.
Earlier they used to pay around 10%, 7, 8 to 10%. Now they are also paying 5%. Whereas the earlier this customer was paying 2 to 3%, now they are paying 5%. So this is the huge differences have come up, and this is not equitable. I believe that I want to say that now look, justification says that those who are rich should pay the tax according to their status, and those who are poor, they should pay also tax according to their status or their wherewithal. So that is the difference. That is the problem today.
And that needs to be fixed.
That needs to be fixed.
We want to tell our consumers that there is a poll that we are running right now. Do take our poll at the end of the show. As always, I will let you know what the results of the poll were. The poll is: what do you expect as a home buyer from Budget 2019? Cheaper home loans, abolition of stamp duty, lower GST rate for property. Please listen into the conversation. We are discussing all these issues, and do make your vote count so that we'll be able to figure out what the consumer wants from Budget 2019. There are some queries, Prabhakar, let's pick up those. There is something on real estate investment trust and deduction on principal repayment of housing loans. Do you want to address that?
Yeah, now two things, like first of all, for the affordable housing, right now there's 200,000 rupees interest payment that get deducted from the taxable income. So the real rate of interest comes down from 10% to somewhere around 8% if that person is in the 20% tax bracket, and if it is in the 10% tax bracket, then that comes down to around 9% or 8.5%. Now, only thing is this, but in the premium segment, if suppose somebody takes a loan of 50 lakhs or 60 lakh of rupees, okay, for them this 2 lakh rupee deduction against interest element is not taking care of their high cost of interest. So if the government allows them for the say up to 50 lakh of rupees or 45 lakh rupees or 60 lakh of rupees home loan or purchase of the house, that entire interest on that loan
As a
taken to
separate
the-
category.
separate category, and allow them the 100% deduction,
Yeah.
so that their cost of fund comes down,
Yeah.
and so that buying a house for them becomes viable. Number
Right.
one. Number two, the principal repayment. Now the principal repayment today is clubbed with the ATC, and in the ATC all many heads are there, like the PF, EPF, mutual funds, other instrument also, even the children's school fees, all those things are there. And that the cap is also not very high, this is around 50,000
Yeah.
rupees or 100,000 rupees. So it gets 100,000 rupees, now it gets completely exhausted. So
And you don't really get the benefit of that principal repayment
in the tax
in the tax
system.
system.
So at least government should create a separate head for that. It should not be clubbed with the ATC, and they say it that interest payment, repayment of say 100,000 rupees per annum or 150,000 rupees per annum can be used or should be used for the tax deduction. That means that amount should be deducted from the entire principal amount, and it should be
After all,
taken.
this is the largest investment or the largest payout that a consumer makes, and it's a huge payout for people. The paying capacity of this is getting stressed.
Exactly.
And if that can be made a separate category, that would probably
Yeah,
help.
it will help the sector itself.
Yes.
And I believe that government should think something of this line and to make house purchase a viable proposition. Let me tell you today, the rental yield is only 1.2%. Okay,
Right.
in this market, if the appreciation is not there in the foreseeable near future, then the mood in the market is very subdued.
Right.
There will be hardly any investment will come, and even the end users. Now, if the government is also working, I am told, for the rental housing segment. And if the rental housing becomes organized and the rental housing is getting available for that kind of a return.
But Prabhakar, when we talk about rental housing, I think we're more talking about institutional rental housing, which means student housing, young adult housing, and things like that, where it is the number of rooms that is, it could be dormitory, hostels, consolidated
Yeah,
units.
that's true. But Jesse, here I have a point
Huh?
that those kind of a rental housing policy is already there. Now today also, this kind of a houses one do give, institution are there, they are taking the houses on rent and build the various rooms, all that. Even
Actually, we don't have that, Prabhakar. It is a new category, and
is
we
coming
have
up.
seen
Yeah, they
we
should
have
have a
seen
separate
4 or
policy.
5 big players. We've got Palacio, we've got Stanza, we've got Ishtara, we've got 5-6 big players which are getting into student housing, and there is shared
Yeah.
accommodation for young adults. But it's not
No,
been
I
a big
agree,
category.
I agree, but the much larger market is there for the residential rental market. And today, even at least according to the data given by the government only, which they had published earlier in 2012 or 13 in the economic survey, something around 30% houses are today lying vacant because the landowner or house owner do not want to give it on rent.
This is because our laws are very archaic.
Archaic,
Right?
okay? Because you cannot get your house vacated, number one. Number two, if the behavior of tenant cannot be controlled. So, and that market is huge, and the asset is lying unused is huge, and
Yes.
it's a national loss. And I believe that the government should come out with some clear-cut policy on that to make those apartments also for to
So
come
do
in
you
the mainstream.
expect something to
Yeah.
come in budget 2019?
And because they had already talked about earlier in the economic survey, so
Yeah.
I think that this is there in their radar. And if you remember last
Yeah.
year also, Haryana state was
Yeah.
trying to come out with some
Yeah.
kind of, so what.
Two states actually, Haryana and Tamil Nadu, had come up with a revamp of their rental housing policies to push rental housing in their
I
states.
believe that central government might come up with a model act.
Right.
And they will say state government to adopt this,
Mhm.
and so that this kind, because remember, the central government is today also trying to address the problem of unused land in the farm areas.
Yeah.
And today what has happened that lot of farmers have migrated to the city, and they don't want to give their land to the tillers, local tillers.
Yeah.
Because there is a law that every state has their own
Yeah.
law, that if a tiller is tilling that land 6 years continuously, they can claim on the ownership, they claim
Yes.
ownership on that land.
Yes.
So because of that, landowners doesn't give it to the farmers.
So it lies fallow.
Slight fallow.
Yeah.
So now the government is trying to come out with some law, whereas the right of the land, right on that land of landowner can be protected, even if he gave it to tiller for 5 years even more or 10 years even more. So government today is very,
Appraised of the fact that rental policies have to
this
be
kind
defined.
of unused
Yeah.
assets should be put to use.
Yes.
And I believe that they are thinking on this line very aggressively.
Sure. There is a question that has come to us from Mohit Kumar of Delhi. Will this budget bring any relief for buyers who are paying double taxes in the form of stamp duty and GST? Now this is a problem. You paid your GST. GST was supposed to subsume all the other taxes, except that stamp duty in our country is something that local governments have not let go of. And the thing is that they haven't come down to the lowest rates. Like it's not 1 to 2%, it's 6% and
Exactly,
up
that
to.
is very high.
That's very
Now,
high.
the stamp duty is not like a tax
Yeah.
basically, it's a registration fees. And earlier it was levied or it got started levied just to maintain the record. But later on it became a
Source of income.
revenue for
Yeah.
the state government.
Yes.
So they kept on increasing it and they brought it down to 6%, in some of the states it is 9% or 12% also,
12%,
12% also. So it's huge. So, and it's a regressive.
Absolutely.
Tax.
If you want a market, especially where jobs are so, there are migrant workers across India, even migrant workforce. If you want to stay in a city, you want to buy, live, and then sell it off and move to the other city and buy, each transaction, the cost goes up by 6%.
Yeah.
And therefore.
Every time.
Every time.
Suppose you just got a job and you are thinking that, okay, let me buy a house today, and so that after 5 years I will sell it and migrate it to the bigger house.
So when you buy, you pay 6%. When you sell, you pay 6%.
Again,
and then if you buy another time, you pay 6%
So
again.
So it makes market illiquid.
Yes, and it makes the real estate markets very difficult to transact.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think which people want stamp duty to be if you've paid your GST, why should you pay a stamp duty?
Yeah, and government had tried to do it particularly for affordable housing. I remember when Venkaiah Naidu was the Minister of Urban Development, he had proposed to all the state government also to waive off this stamp duty for all the affordable housing. But the state government didn't do it.
Right.
Some government announced it, but they never implemented it, like Haryana government and some of this kind of government they announced it also.
So let's see where the budget 2019 can actually address. And Mohit Kumar, your point is well taken. There's Lata Singh of Pune says, why do buyers have to pay GST and stamp duty plus other taxes while paying the property? The same issue.
Yeah.
There's Kiran Reddy of Chennai who says, if I have one house and planning to buy another one for investment purpose, how can I avail 1% GST benefit? Will this budget change anything for buyers like me?
If you buy the affordable housing project, then you can avail this facility, but you have already one house, so for the second house,
you don't get a 1%
1%,
benefit.
yeah, affordable.
He doesn't get CLSS, but if he buys a property that is less
for
than.
the second house, CLSS is not there.
The 1% comes only with CLSS, no?
No, CLSS also and affordable housing also of certain size.
Yeah.
It's
30 square meters or 60 square meters. Then you can get a 1%.
Up to 45 lakh of rupees, then only you can get up for 1%.
So if you buy a unit that is not more than 60 square meters, you should be able to, or has it gone up to 60 square meters? 30 and 60 square meters, then you can get avail of the 1% GST.
Yeah.
There is Mukesh Sharma of Mumbai who says, how many new PMAY housing projects are going to be launched this year and the next year? Will budget bring any change in the policy? See, PMAY is a flagship project of the Government of India, and PMAY actually has sanctioned over 70 lakh housing units, which a large percentage of which was beneficiary-led housing, which means that if you have the land and you have a kacha house, or you have a congested house, which means that there are more than 5 people using it as a residential unit, the Government of India was giving you some money to upgrade that, and that is what has had the maximum take up in the market. There has also been some amount of structured small units, 30 and 60 square meters, which was part of the PMAY. Under PMAY, one more thing that the government did was it acknowledged the middle classes as an asset category that needs to be given a boost. And therefore, if you had a 12 lakh or 18 lakh salary, you could get a credit linked subsidy scheme of 4 and 3%, right?
2.5 lakh rupees around
in
the entire period of the loan tenure, which we will get upfront and to purchase a house. The cap on the houses is not there, price on the houses, cap on the prices of houses is not there, but cap on the size of the houses is there. that it cannot be more than 1800 square.
120 square meter,
Meter.
150 square meters and 180 square
Yeah,
meters.
for the maximum salary.
Yes, and if and your salary, two things, two variables. Your salary has to match, and the size of the house has to match.
Yeah, and only thing is this, that this is wall to wall, and this is the carpet area. So the total area, constructible area, goes beyond 150 square meter. It goes up to 180 to 200 square.
Which
meter.
is roughly translates into about 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, more than that, 2,200.
2,200 square feet apartment.
Yeah, so it's a big apartment.
And we do think that more housing should be coming.
Yeah,
Whether
because of flagship
the
project.
yeah, whether the how the government is going to address this, we don't have any answers. There are some of the things that could be is that there could be stamp duty reduction. There could be developers get a tax benefit if they build in the affordable segment, and all these have actually boosted the amount of supply. in the
Plus
market.
infrastructure development.
Plus infrastructure development. They have tied the housing for all with the smart cities mission, which means that not only the housing but all the other infrastructures like water, power, sewerage, drainage, all this connectivity, all this is linked to the creation of affordable housing. There is Arjun Kumar of Delhi who says right now the buyers are supposed to pay multiple taxes while buying and selling. For example, if you're buying a resale property, you have to pay transfer charges apart from stamp duty. Why do we have this kind of tax complication?
Transfer charges you pay in Noida, Greater Noida, because these are the leasehold property. So that is why they are taking you that charge just to give permission to sell or purchase the house. But that is not there in the Gurgaon. And Noida, it is mainly, it is very small market. I mean, you cannot.
Where the authority owns the land
Yeah.
and has given it to the developers on a lease, that's where transfer charges hold.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of India does not have this because India is more or less moved towards a freehold property regime. Vivek Pandey of Gurgaon says many projects got delayed because of land acquisition related issues and cases pending in the courts. Buyers are supposed to check that they are buying. They buy thinking approvals are in place. Why do some projects face approval issues after getting them at the time of launch? Actually, the thing is that there are very complex issues here. The approvals come late. The developer buys land. He has to, if he's buying it with borrowed money, then his meter starts ticking. But at the time the approvals come, on an average it's 18 to 24 months it takes for approvals to come in most cities across the country. After that, the developer has to start selling the property, and there had to be a 3-year period in which the 4 to 5 year period in which the complete the construction. Now, in the past, this has not happened. In the RERA regime, this will definitely happen, and we don't expect as many delays now as there were earlier because the money that you pay goes into an escrow account. That money cannot be used to pay salaries or to service debt. What it can be used for is, according to the levels of construction, the money is given from an escrow account, and this different states have different norms, but more or less it has to be linked with the stage of construction.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't.
And land acquisition is a big issue.
It is a big
And budget is not the forum to address that issue. Though Narendra Modi in his first term, earlier 2014-15, he tried to address and bring some amendment in the Land Acquisition and Regulation Act, but he could not do it because the farmers issue was involved in that and he had to sell it.
Yes.
Now this is a big political issue, and I don't think that any Prime Minister will address it, and so he has left that land acquisition on the private party, outright sale purchase, and the contiguity is a big issue now, and the government still doesn't want to intervene into that because it becomes a very political sensitive issue. So that's an issue, and that affects the planned urbanization in this country. I believe that Narendra Modi should have taken some kind of willpower to bite the bullet here, to do something so that land acquisition could be made
One of the solutions that's coming
equitable
out.
also for the farmers. Equitable farmers should be given the compensation, but some of the farmers who try to completely take that system for a ride and try to blackmail the system, that should also not be allowed at the cost of the particularly the development of the sister society. So both the things has to be. But let me tell you one thing is there that.
But land pooling is coming out. They're trying out land pooling. Not that they found solutions yet, but at least through pooling, the owners get to partake of the benefits of development over a period of time. It hasn't been a huge success across the country. There have been spots where it has worked. So let's see how it pans out and whether they will talk about land pooling in the union budget.
But for the infrastructure development, even land pooling is not possible because the government cannot take the responsibility, or any party who is developing that infrastructure cannot take the responsibility to pay the compensation to the farmers till infinitum. That certain amount of the amount has to be paid to the, and then the internal problem comes up that one family starts taking money, then after 10 years the family is split, and so the lot of cases comes up. So I believe they should find out some solution of that if they want a planned development of the this urbanization.
Right. There is Sonia Kumar of Greater Noida who is raising a very pertinent issue. Living in a high-rise society is too much for people these days. You pay taxes on maintenance, club charges and multiple extra charges on electricity, etc., making it tough for homeowners to think of anything except paying taxes. Actually, the thing is, Prabhakar, there is a plethora of taxes that the consumer pays.
Particularly 18% of GST on the maintenance is too much.
18% GST on maintenance. And remember that when you buy the house, as it is, a lot of houses have been delayed, people have just got their houses, and then to pay very heavy maintenance charges seems to be hitting the wallet of the consumer.
I believe that RERA is not equipped, it seems, to address this issue. So particularly after delivery, the way the society is run in this country is not fair. The individual resident of the society, they get a very bad treatment and they don't have much say in any of the forum. And they don't know where to go. The court is simply no, you can't go to the court because the finding solution there is not possible.
In fact, I asked one of the RERA authorities and he suggested that if there is any problem with the services, the only forum you can go to is the Consumer Redressal Forum. RERA is not the authority which can...
And you know the Consumer Redressal Forum, the way it functions, it's very difficult. And particularly today, I know some of the society where the management is completely autocratic, and they take their own decision. They have their cliques. They don't go for the election. The registrar of the society, I don't know what do they do. And it goes on like that.
And actually the RW is a very significant entity, and we believe that the RWS should be strengthened.
Should be given more power, and the residents should also participate in the RW meeting. But there are certain society, you know what to do. The management basically control 20%, 25% of the apartments, and then they have their own way to run the society, and it's a profit center for them.
There's Vijay Mathur of Delhi who says, do circle rates vary from state to state? Should buyers consider before buying? Will budget correct this?
Not state to state. In one city there could be 10 rates.
Yes, and in fact circle rates are fixed for the city. It is there is no hard and fast rule on what frequency it should be changed, and it is not a very scientific exercise. We've seen many times that the circle rates of certain areas are higher than the market rate. When the market rates have fallen, and this has been one of the unique periods of real estate history where the market rates have fallen significantly, but the circle rates were not corrected by the government agencies because they were not required to do that. They can do it at their own whims and fancies. And can the budget change it? No. This is not a budget issue, but the issue you've raised is very pertinent, and that's why I picked
it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. Only the budget can address it. That now the differential. Now suppose somebody is paying lower than the stamp duty, then at least income tax department should not breathe in their neck. Boss, now you pay tax on the difference amount.
So the budget can address that?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
last time they
So,
had tried
yeah.
to address that. That was
If
a
there's
5% deviation. Yeah.
they've allowed a 5% deviation. Is it only 5%? No, in many cases it can be up to 30-40%
Yeah.
deviation.
So many market in Delhi
Yes.
itself. The deviation.
Even around the country, we've got complaints from around
Bhopal
the
and all
yes.
that.
Yes.
It's a huge deviation.
There is Ashima Ratra of Ghaziabad. I'm a salaried person and want to buy a house. How much can I claim back for income tax in case I pay about 50 lakh to buy a 2-bedroom house?
Okay. Tax.
How much can I claim back for income tax? I think what you're
50
asking.
lakh rupees. Okay. Now if
you-
it takes the loan of entire amount, 40
Yeah.
lakh rupees also.
If your house costs 50 lakhs, you will get about roughly about
2 lakh rupees, the total interest if it buys.
80% is what you can get as a loan, right?
Yeah, so 80% the 40 lakh rupees loan, so the 40 lakh rupees loan, so that means for the first year she will give the interest of 4 lakh of rupees around.
Yeah.
So out of that 4 lakh of rupees, 2 lakh rupees interest outgo can be used as a deduction against the
Yes.
salaried income. So the salaried income can be brought down by 2 lakh of rupees. And if the salary income is brought down by 2 lakh rupees and her income is less than 10 lakh, so that means 20% of 2 lakh, that is 40,000 rupees benefits will have.
So you will get that benefit. Check out what the calculation that Prabhakar has given. If you have any more doubts, you can come back. There is Avni Singh of Delhi who says, will budget 2019 bring any relief for women home buyers? What are the benefits available for women in case she is a single independent woman? Actually, Prabhakar, the issue she's raising is important. When you have two salaries, normally a couple, two salaries, one salary goes to service the account and the other one is used to run the house. But when it is an independent man or woman, a single person buying a house, you do have problems of servicing that loan.
Yeah.
And is it considered as a single woman, as a single different category? No, I don't think so. A woman gets certain benefits in terms of
Stamp duty.
stamp duty. But otherwise, we
And
haven't seen.
0.05% interest rate deduction, like if for normal person it is 9.85%, then for women it will be 9.80%. So this kind of interest benefit they give.
It's
So
not
okay.
significant, but that is a small token
Yeah,
gesture.
Token gesture they could give.
Deepak Singh says it's high time they made it one nation, one tax in reality, by abolishing stamp duty in property registration. Actually, property registration taxes are a city tax. It's at the urban local body level, and even when the GST was being considered, this was something that was debated, but there could be no consensus because the cities did not agree to this. So while you have a CGST and a SGST, so there's a division between the central tax and the state tax. At the city level, how much can the state give? That has not been
Yeah. So it is not
determined.
decided. It can't come. Only thing is this, that city or state themselves should come forward to bring down that rate, so that more vibrancy could come in the real estate sector itself.
In fact, a good, vibrant real estate in the city actually pushes up the GDP for the
Yeah.
city, and the money comes automatically. Unfortunately, our policy makers have not understood that. In fact, that if you reduce the rates, the compliance goes up and your collections improve. Two cities have posted much better results out of compliance. One was Pune and one was Hyderabad. Both of these because when you bring down the tax rates, the amount of, and you made it online, so there is convenience, the compliance went up significantly, and if you can bring it down to 1 to 2%, it should never be more than 1 to 2%, if at all it should be there. But this is a running complaint from many consumers that stamp duty is something that they're paying over and above the GST. There is Aruna Kumar of Gurgaon who says, will there be any law for rental homes? Right now you have to pay rent, maintenance and other charges while living in a rental home. It is too much cost for high-rise society. Will government think this over? The government is very seriously considering rental housing. We did discuss rental housing a little while ago. How it will come out and what is the format, we are not sure yet. But yes, we are aware that the central government is working on a model rental act.
I mean, if the legal protection is given to the landowners, the more supply of houses will come in the market. And that should result into lowering of the rental further in the market.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing I foresee in the near future. Though in the long term it will be very good, rental may increase or rental will be rationalized. But certainly in the near future, if the rental market is organized, the rental rates should come down.
Yeah. We have another 5 minutes. If any of you want to post your queries, do post your queries. We'll be answering. We have a few questions waiting. There is Nitin Rajput who says, "Sir, क्या home loan अभी और सस्ता होगा?" We have had
होना चाहिए, अगर नहीं होता है तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, क्योंकि आप आज देख लीजिए कि होम लोन रेट भी करीब 9.8 9.8 to 10% के आसपास में है, जबकि इन्फ्लेशन का रेट 3 से 4% है। तो जो रियल रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट बोला जाता है, डिफरेंस बिटवीन इंटरेस्ट रेट और इन्फ्लेशन, वो 6-7% के आसपास आता है, जो कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा है। और खासकर वैसे मार्केट में, जबकि जब इन्फ्लेशन कम है, इसका मतलब यह है कि एसेट प्राइस अप्रिसिएशन नहीं हो रहा है। तो ऐसे सूरत में 7% के रियल रेट पे कोई आदमी पैसा खरीद लेके और ऐसे जगह पे पैसा लगाए जहाँ पे कोई अप्रिसिएशन भी नहीं होने वाला है, बहुत डाउटफुल है। और इसके कारण से जो है मार्केट बहुत ना, केवल रियल एस्टेट ही नहीं, बाकी सेक्टर में भी इसके कारण बहुत असर पड़ रहा है। कोई भी इंडस्ट्री में इन्वेस्टमेंट, फ्रेश इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं आ रहा है। तो इसीलिए सरकार को या तो फ्रेश इन्वेस्टमेंट करे डायरेक्टली इसी सूरत पे, और नहीं तो इंटरेस्ट रेट को कम करवाए किसी तरह से, ताकि लोग जो है सो प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट हो, लोग जो है सो परचेजेस करें और आगे काम हो। जो आज के दिन की जो स्थिति है, इस हाई रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट पे इंडस्ट्री या कोई भी मार्केट नहीं चल पाएगा, बहुत डिफिकल्ट है।
योगेश पूछते हैं, रेंटल पॉलिसी के बेनिफिट्स क्या क्या होंगे? रेंट बढ़ाने पे कोई लिमिट लगेगी?
नहीं, रेट बढ़ाने पर कोई लिमिट नहीं लगेगी। इसमें बहुत बड़ा फायदा ये आएगा आपको, यदि रेंटल पॉलिसी हाउसिंग का आता है तो, कि अगर आपका घर आपने रेंट पे दिया सर्टेन पीरियड पे, तो वो आदमी आपका घर कब्जा नहीं कर सकता है बियॉन्ड ए पॉइंट। जब आप उसको वैकेशन का नोटिस देंगे तो उसको वैकेट करना पड़ेगा। ये एक बहुत बड़ा एस्पेक्ट आएगा, जिसके डर से कि टेनेंट खाली नहीं करता है घर, तो लोग आज के दिन अपना मकान बंद करके रखते हैं, उसको रेंट पे नहीं देते हैं। तो एक तो इसको एड्रेस करना चाहेगा। दूसरा एक डिमांड है लोगों का कि आज के दिन अबेटमेंट मिलता है रेंटल का 30% का, कि 30% के पैसा को माइनस कर दीजिए और 70% पे आपको टैक्स लगता है, वो आपके इनकम में ऐड हो जाता है रेंटल का, फिर आप उस पर टैक्स पे करते हैं। लेकिन अगर आपका 5 लाख से कम ही इनकम है तो कोई टैक्स नहीं रहेगा, लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा इनकम है तो उस पर आपको टैक्स लगता है। डिमांड ये हो रहा है कि जो रेंटल यील्ड चूंकि इतना कम है, तो कम से कम उसको 30% से बढ़ा के 50% कर दिया जाए जनरल हाउसिंग के लिए, और सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए इसको 100% कर दिया जाए, क्योंकि ये उनके लिए एक सोर्स ऑफ इनकम है लाइवलीहुड के लिए।
कभी-कभी ओनली सोर्स ऑफ इनकम है।
तो उनको 100% कर दिया जाए कि 100% तक पे कोई भी रेंटल इनकम पे उनको नहीं लगेगा। तो इससे रेंटल मार्केट को एक बढ़ावा मिलेगा, और ये सरकार कर सकती है। मतलब इस पे
सरकार सोच भी रही है, मगर आई डोंट थिंक वी कम टू द एंड ऑफ ऑल दोस डिस्कशंस। एंड इस बजट पे में रेंटल हाउसिंग पे कुछ निकलेगा, वी आर नॉट श्योर, बट देयर इज सीरियस कंसिडरेशन।
हो सकता है कि मॉडल कोड उसके ऊपर लेके आए सरकार, बोले कि यही इस तरह का, चूंकि ये स्टेट सब्जेक्ट है तो इसलिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कुछ खास कर नहीं सकती।
जैसे रेरा में किया था, एक सेंट्रल एक्ट आ सकता है नेशन वाइड, जिसको स्टेट्स को फिर से इम्प्लीमेंट
करने के लिए बोलेंगे।
अजीत शर्मा पुणे से पूछते हैं, why does the government levy a transfer charge on resale properties that is too much for a buyer who does not want to buy under construction properties?
No, this is in the industrial township. This is not in the general township. Like in the Gurgaon or in Pune, there could be some industrial township where this kind of a charges could be or would be levied. But in the general housing, where there is
freehold property, there is no transfer charge. Where it is leasehold property, there is the transfer charge. It's like a facilitation fee by the authority which holds the.
They maintains their own data that okay, this property was given to him. Now, who is the second person who is taking that house? So because they also keep a track record, and so for that maintenance, they say that they levy that charge.
Pratik Kumar of Ghaziabad says there are many unauthorized colonies which got registered also in Ghaziabad. We paid to the authority and builders as well. Now this construction is illegal. If this is illegal, then why does the government allow registry of such properties?
Registry is a different. Registry is nothing to do with legal or illegal property. Registration can be done of anything. But only thing is this, that if it is illegal, you should have found out that whether any approval was given to that development or not. If the approval was given, then certainly it is not illegal. But if the approval was not given, then it is illegal property, and anything can be registered. That is not an issue.
The property that you buy, wherever you buy it, whatever size or price you buy it at, it's your money, and you have to make sure that the approvals are there. Today you have the right to ask for the approvals list, and developers have to show it to you. If you bought a property that is unapproved and then you went and registered it, that does not automatically authorize it as a legal property.
Yeah.
It just means that whatever your transaction was, that amount has been just registered as a transaction. It does not mean that the approvals have been granted. There is Prakash Sharma of Navi Mumbai who says, why can't government allow single window clearance for all real estate projects, especially housing projects? It will speed up the approvals process. Couldn't agree more with you, sir.
Yeah.
That is exactly what is
For
required.
last 15 years, everybody is shouting from the rooftop that this should be done.
Even when RERA came, and our current Vice President, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, was the Minister for Housing, he had promised that within 6 months of RERA coming, the approvals process will be not more than 6 months. In some cities, there has been significant improvements.
Yeah.
In some cities, we are still waiting for that change to happen. But yes, why should you wait for so long? It seems unfair. There is Rakesh Mathur of Greater Noida who has a leasehold property in Greater Noida. Now I want to know, if I have to make it freehold property in future, will I have to pay again for it? Does it make sense buying leasehold properties? I think in Greater Noida and Noida you can't make it freehold because the authority owns the land and it is leased out to it doesn't allow. There are other cities where the governments have, like places like Delhi and so on, have gone into leasehold and
leasehold to freehold. In Delhi they allow it.
They allow them to go into freehold. Rakesh Mathur of there is Kailash Singh of Chandigarh. Will there be any relief for tier 2-3 cities in the upcoming budget? Developers are not able to arrange funds for projects and land acquisition. When will this situation improve? There has been a demand even from the NAREDCO that if you can improve the infrastructure of tier 2 and 3 cities, that the minute infrastructure is improved, that land becomes more developable and the developers are able to move into those areas. This has been a demand, this has been on the budget wish list of the developers. Whether it comes through or not, we'll know in another week or so. And that's where we are going to end this session. I would like to tell you the results. What do you expect as a home buyer from the budget? 17% said they expect cheaper home loans, 50% said stamp duty abolition, and 33% said lower GST. Now this is a very interesting result. 50% of people are saying please abolish stamp duty. Government of India, are you here? Listening in to all the home buyers. Thank you so much for watching this Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup and this is Prabhakar Sinha.
Thank you.